This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome back. Hope everyone had a nice Yom Tov. We're going to begin with something important on Daf Mem Hey. Daf Mem Hey discussed a very important and contemporary subject. What is the status of a child whose father was a Gentile and his mother was a Jew? That was the shaila of the Gemara. Somebody whose father was an Eved v'Oved Kechavim Haba Bas Yisrael. That's the bottom of Mem Daled Amud Beis. Rabbi Bar Chana said in Rabbi Yochanan, everyone is moida that an Eved or an Oved Kechavim that lives with a Jewish woman, the Vlad is a mamzer. So the Gemara says, why would that be? It's not a chayvei krisus. The Gemara says, even though it's not a chayvei krisus, still kedushin, since kedushin is not toifes, it produces a mamzer. But then the Gemara brought other opinions that no, the Vlad is kosher. Rebbe holds the Vlad is kosher. And the Gemara brought a number of opinions that the Vlad is kosher. Rabbi Yeshua holds the Vlad is makulkal. And the Gemara interpreted that to mean the Vlad is makulkal lekahuna. And the Gemara says on the final narrow line on Mem Hey Amud Aleph that all the Amoram who say the Vlad is kosher, they're moide, the Vlad is pagam lekahuna. Why? The Gemara says a kavachomer. Ma almana lekohen gadol, who her isser is only to kohen gadol, not to everyone. Her child is pagam lekahuna. The child of such a union is pagam lekahuna. That means the girl is pasal lekahuna. So the daughter of someone whose father is a guy, and the daughter of a guy and a Jewish woman, certainly she would be pagam lekahuna. Rashi said it doesn't mean bina pagam, it means bita pagam, the daughter. The son has no problem to a kohenes because there is no concept of kedusha to a bas kohen. Fine. So the Gemara on Amud Aleph seems to conclude that most authorities hold that if the father is a guy, the child could marry a regular Jewish girl. However, a girl cannot marry a kohen. The child is pagam lekahuna. However, interestingly, on Mem Hey Amud Beis, the Gemara's conclusion is about 2/3 of the way down. V'hilchasa oived koichavim ve'eved haba bas Yisrael havad kosher. A Gentile or a slave who lives with a Jewish woman, the Vlad is kosher. Bein bepnuya, bein be'eshasesh. So, interestingly, even though the Gemara says the child is kosher, the Gemara doesn't say, well, the child is pagam lekahuna. Somehow, the kavachomer from Mem Hey Amud Aleph was not incorporated in the final psak on Mem Hey Amud Beis. So let's begin with the Rif. I did not make copies of Mar Mekoimis that are found in the back of the Gemara. So I hope you have a regular Gemara. If not, then let me know, and next time I'll try to put this the Rif and the Rush on as well. But please take a look in the back of your Gemara to the Rif. The Rif is found on Mem Hey Amud Beis. It's Daf Tes Vav in the Dafei Harif. Daf Tes Vav in the Dafei Harif. Okay, the Rif says like this. The Hilchasa, it's about 1/3 of the way down. Oived koichavim ve'eved haba alba. Excuse me. The Gemara says v'shaklinon v'tarinon ba'tuva v'asikna. The Gemara has a lot of shakla v'tarya, and the conclusion is the Hilchasa. Oived koichavim ve'eved haba bas Yisrael havlad kosher bein bepnu bein be'eshasesh. That's the Rif is just codifying the words of the Gemara. And then the Rif says, V'ika mirab vasa, the Masaimiba, some of the Rabbanim conclude, the Hai de Amrina Vlad kosher, this that the Gemara concludes of Vlad is kosher, Hanimi Lisra, that's to a Jewish person. Aval kahuna, but to kahuna Havlad pogum. Meaning, the Ibartahi, if she's a girl, Asur l'kohen, she cannot marry a kohen. Why? Mindamrinon mikame hai piska, from the fact that the Gemara said before this psak, Mem Hey Amud Aleph, v'kulu amaroi, all the Amaram, the Machshir, who say the Vlad is kosher, Moidu, they consent, they agree, Shavlad Pagam L'Kahuna, that the Vlad is Pagam L'Kahuna. Why? Kavachoymer me'amana. Uma almana l'koyin gadol, sheni surah shavah v'kal b'nat pagam, zu she surah shavah v'kal, adin shem not pagam. Ela ma you'll say, v'chitema ika l'mifrach, ma la'almana shkein hi atzam eschalelas, and if you're going to say it's not a good kavachoymer, because when almana lives with a koyin gadol, she herself is defiled, so when a Jewish woman lives with a guy, she's also defiled. Hachanami kim debala asa chalala. That they become pasul, and the Rif is just quoting the Gemara. Look on the last narrow line in the Rif. V'chazina. So some Rabbanim hold that even though the Gemara in the conclusion did not bring in the Kavachomer that the Vlad is pagam, but the Gemara already brought it on Omid Aleph. And therefore, many Chachamim say that someone whose father is a goy cannot marry a kohen. But then the Rif says on the last narrow line, "V'chazino avasachrini." Other Rabbanim say, "The paski kosher." They paskin that since the Gemara concluded the Vlad is kosher, v'loi misaymi shavlad pagam, and the Gemara didn't conclude with the words of the Kavachomer on Mem Hey Amud Aleph, that there's a Kavachomer that the Vlad is pagam l'kahuna, and therefore the Gemara must for some reason be falling off of that Kavachomer. Maybe there's some percha that the Gemara is not articulating. But the bottom line is that many Chachamim say that even though a Kavachomer was mentioned on Mem Hey Amud Aleph to passel the child l'kahuna, it was not mentioned again on Mem Hey Amud Beis, and therefore we do not follow that Kavachomer, and the Vlad is perfectly kosher. So what's the bottom line halacha? Says the Rif, Anan Mesafgalon, I have a pagam, Eloi. We're mesupik whether the child is pagam. Midechazinon leGemara, from the fact that we see in the Gemara, Basar Shakla V'Tarya, after the whole back and forth, the Pasak V'ilchasav V'kacham V'evad Abba Vlad kosher V'loyomar V'ilchasav Vlad pagam. The Gemara says Hilchasa, the Vlad is kosher, and the Gemara doesn't add. And by the way, the halacha is the Vlad is pagam. So the Gemara seems like it's falling off of that Kavachomer. So therefore, the Rif says, we, in conclusion, yes, the child, someone whose father is a goy, can marry a Yisrael. Can they marry a kohen? It's a safek. The Gemara in Omid Aleph said a Kavachomer why they can't marry a kohen, but the conclusion on Omid Beis did not incorporate that Kavachomer, and the conclusion of the Rif, therefore, is the status of such a woman is safek whether they can marry l'kahuna. The Rambam holds definitively that the Gemara does not bring it into the conclusion, and the child can marry a kohen. The Rosh, as we're about to see, holds definitively that they cannot marry a kohen. The Gemara doesn't have to bring it into the conclusion in the end. The Gemara brought it on Omid Aleph, and nobody challenged it, so it stands. That's the Shita of the Rosh. If we could take a look, the Rosh is Mem Hey Amud Beis, Mem Hey Amud Beis in... Let's see if we can find it. Take a look in the Rosh. It's Perek Daled in the Rosh, Ois Lamed. In the Ois Vahadar editions, it's Daf Chav Daled. In the Dafei Harash, it's Perek Revi'i, Ois Lamed in the Rosh. The Rosh quotes the Maskana that Ovecham ve'eved Abbas Yisrael Avad kosher. The Rosh says some authorities hold the Vlad as pagum from the Kavachomer. Other Chachamim say the Vlad is kosher because the Gemara does not bring it into the conclusion. And the Rosh says himself, Ve'eni, this is the middle of the Rosh in Ois Lamed, by the Ois Pei in the Karban Nesanel notations. Ve'eni roya lekan makam shiba safek. I don't see why there should be a safek. Midika amar le'el. from the fact that the Gemara said earlier, Stama the Gemara, the Kul Amaroi, the Machshur, that all the Amarim will say this child is kosher to the Kal, Moidu, they would agree, the Havlad Pogam L'Kahuna from the Kavachomer. The Kivan the Kavachomer less late Pircha, since the Kavachomer has no refutation, like Amanda Palagale, nobody argues on it. So why didn't the Gemara say V'hilchasa Havlad Pogam? Umashalai Hizkir, HaGemara Bekan V'hilchasa Havlad Pogam, Misham Doit Tzarch Lemivsak. We don't have to paskin that way. The Kvar Masik Stam the Gemara Lel. The unqualified language of Gemara earlier concluded that we have a Kavachomer that the Vlad is Pogam, the Kulu Amaroi Moidu, the Mnai Pogam, the Lekamanda Polig. And we don't have to paskin the Vlad is Pogam L'Kahuna. We only have to paskin whether they are kosher L'Kahal. So we have three shitos. The conclusion of the Rif is it's a Safek. The conclusion of the Rambam is the Vlad is kosher from the fact that Gemara doesn't conclude it on Mem Hey Amud Beis. Conclusion of the Rosh is the Vlad is pasul from the fact that we have a Kavachomer on Mem Hey Amud Aleph and nobody challenged it. So I just want to bring to your attention how we paskin Lamaisa. It's a very kedai halacha to have clear. Halacha Lamaisa. A kohen, he's going out with the girl. Her father is a guy. Her mother's Jewish. She's a Jewish girl. She's a fine girl. Now, I will tell you, what about a Yisrael? Your friend is going out with a girl, and the father's a guy. Is there anything wrong? The Gemara says the Vlad is kosher. But, we do have to say, the Gemara Mem Hey Amud Aleph said, they asked Rav, what's the status of the Vlad? Rav said the Vlad is kosher. So the guy said, let me marry your daughter. So Rav said, not a chance. So the guy said, Rav said, even if you were like Yeshua ben Nun, I wouldn't let you marry. So the guy says, it's not fair, Yeshua ben Nun, somebody else would have married him. But I have no one else to marry. Rav said, I don't care. The guy kept on bugging him. So Rav looked at him and he killed him. So even though, yes, the Vlad is kosher, but if you want to know, should you let your daughter go out with somebody who the father's a guy, we can't say this publicly, but, if Rav killed the guy, then probably this is not, people have all kinds of hang-ups. Does the mother use a push cart? Fine, those things are mishugas. But that the father should be a Jewish, that doesn't seem to be a mishugas, right? But anyway, the Gemara does, fine. But what about L'Kahuna? So let's look in the Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch says like this. This is in Even HaEzer, Siman Dalid, Halacha Hey. Talking about Amoini, Mayavi, Mitzri, Adoimi. The Echad Me'elu, any of these Gentiles, Shaba, Albas Yisrael, have Vlad kosher L'Kal, Ela Shapagam L'Kahuna. The Shulchan Aruch says, we paskin the Vlad is Pagam. Who is that like? That's like the Rosh. L'Chayra. That is like the Rosh. Comes the Beis Shmuel, this is Beis Shmuel Sivkata and Beis. Harif Mesupik Bezem Heim Kum L'Kahuna. The Rif is Mesupik. The Rambam kasav deim ksherim. The Rambam says they're kosher. Ela harosh kasav deim pekum kumi kavachomer kohen gadol ba amana shebno pagam afal pishe nisur shabakol kavachomer ba echem elu kadim shnizgar bazir shavla pagam kuhuna. Meaning, the Rif is mesupik. The Rambam says kosher. The Rosh says pasul because of the kavachomer. So how do we paskin? This is a very important psak of the Beis Shmuel. Well, psak halacha nira l'chayra b'di eved ein moitziim and nisis l'kayin. Da halarabam kosher. V'chein la'arif v'araban ein moitziim. If your friend says, by the way, I got married yesterday. Who'd you marry? I married Yenta. Oh, mamish, a haimish name. Where does she come from? She comes from Borough Park. What's her mother's name? Sprinza. What's her father's name? Frank. Tony. Really? What's his Hebrew name? No, that's his name. He's Jewish? No, he's not Jewish. Why does he need to be Jewish? You don't have to be Jewish. So you're right. Now the question is, do you have to tell your friend to divorce his wife? So according to the Rosh, yeah. However, there's the Shita of the Rambam, that she's kosher l'kuhuna. And according to the Rif, they don't have to get divorced. So certainly l'chadchila you can't get married. A kohen cannot marry a woman whose father is a goy. B'diavad, if he did, they stay married. That's the bottom line. That's stam, a nice little sugya to be aware of. The halacha l'maisa based on mem heyam beis and mem heyam alf mem heyam beis. Okay, that's the first offering today.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.